Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time, the Zerg in the blue, the finisher. It's Serral. Facing off against the Protoss powerhouse in the red, we have Classic in a best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg showdown in what might be the most requested, most recommended series I've ever seen. And arguably my standards are pretty high, and I hope yours are as well, so that way I can earn you smashing that like button and maybe even subscribe on the count of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy. 1,683 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As the probe gets away with shoplifting 5 minerals, trespassing on Serral's base, but we will not be adding obstruction of second hatchery, or natchery, colloquially, to its crimes. So Classic not going for the early block, but instead just making sure Serral's not doing his like 1 in 25 Zerg rushes that he does occasionally just to keep everyone honest. But no, Classic, a much more macro-oriented player, especially with the addition of energy recharge last year. The ability to slap 100 energy into an Oracle, well, usually an Oracle, but any unit or shield battery on a minute cooldown, replacing shield battery overcharge, which replaced the mothership core, which replaced nothing if we're going back far enough, but that energy recharge ability, allowing Protoss essentially to have enough energy even on a single Oracle to both attack and defend, to scout and threaten the drones. So we kind of get into an impasse where until later on, when maybe you can spread some creep across the map and bring the queens, or get Hydras out, there's no cost-effective way for Zerg to do a dangerous attack. And, I mean, later on, energy recharge very useful for slapping 100 energy into a Templar, getting 2 storms out of it the moment you warp it in. So, a very helpful split there. I mean, Classic has been going for these late-game tech builds since when he won GSL in 2014, which was like 5 years ago, right? So, back when he was rushing to carriers every game and just trying to survive, and now he's doing something completely different. Now we have Tempest, which oftentimes have more utility. But Serral sneaking out a bunch of Zerglings. How many? 22 Zerglings on the field, clearly trying to get some damage done, maybe even cancel the third base. Classic, his oracles are on the wrong side of history right now, trying to burn a nade across the drone line, but hits 3 with beautiful micro, but unfortunately this is undercut heavily by dozens of Zerglings in his third base. The Adepts are jammed in between a mineral and a mineral place right now, making it about as hard as possible for the Zerglings to actually kill them. And I think that might save the day here. If those Adepts weren't squeezed in between the minerals in a way that definitely violates their personal space, then it's very likely this Nexus would have died. Classic, I don't know if he didn't have the energy or the motivation to recall the Oracles. They did eventually come home because he doesn't know this is the end of the Zerglings. But the Sim City there, the setup, and the Adepts jammed in will keep the Nexus alive. But behind it, Serral was already, by the time he was sending the Zerglings across the map, he was already drowning. This was not Owen. This wasn't like, I'm going to try to kill you with a bunch of Zerglings. This is not the Platinum League, believe it or not. Instead, Serral using this to kind of keep the initiative and make sure Classic stays honest. Because if a Protoss player can micro their fancy disco ball oracles and burn every single creep tumor and drone that strays into range, sometimes even the queens, things get uncomfortable at best for the Zerg and untenable at worst. So Serral, with really just embodying the phrase, offense is the best defense. All right, simple enough. Like Sun Tzu said, Oracle in sky, Zergling on ground. I don't know why Sun Tzu spoke like that. That seems like an inaccurate translation. But I don't write the rules, okay? The only art I have is commentary, not war. But now Serral, on a completely and utterly different note. Jimmy, edit that little bit out. We talk about it every time on this map because it's still true. The hardest thing for Zerg to do is expand past the first 4 bases. The map has some thin choke points. It's relatively easy to narrow it down, which means eventually, many times we get to the late game. And any base you take past the first 4 on that top side is going to be towards your opponent, making it easier for things like a death ball and a mothership to move closer, for charge lots to slip by. Most often, the larger the map is, it favors Zerg, with some exceptions. But Serral already trying to grab the base down the center. Oracles. It appears he realizes he's not going to be breaking this early on. Adding in some more drones, already over 80 at 7 minutes. Not that Classic is slacking. He's at 70 probes as well. But he's already got Storm completed. Blink and +1 as well for the Stalkers. Hydralisk with speed, and Banelings also with speed and creep, which is essentially a speed upgrade, especially for the Queens. So just generally, getting up close and personal as quick as possible. Little shady bunch here. Ragtag band of Templar with their fancy capes and Stalkers outside the 4th base holding on for now. The Adepts kind of past their expiration date, where almost any other unit is usually more effective. But Classic just using them to keep Serral busy. Actually drags back some of the Lings. Gets into the 3rd, where he will be immediately ripped to shreds, I say, by Zerglings and pin-cushioned by Hydras. So, believe it or not, we're going straight into a macro game. But Serral is loading, well, he's creating 4 Dropper Lords and getting Overlord speed, opening up some options. Meanwhile, Classic already has a fleet beacon on the way as he calls to the Sky Toss for aid, the Golden Armada. What sort of combination of Mothership and Tempest? Usually want 5 to 8 or so in the late game, but I don't think Serral's just going to let him get there that easily. Already loading up the mass drop. Just going to be Zerglings to start. This is the kind of attack I don't think Serral is looking to win the game, but cripple Classic in a way that allows him to sweep the army off the board later. With this many cannons, this many Templar, it's almost impossible for Serral to outright kill Classic, but it is very possible to do critical damage. And here we go. The drop is headed in towards the main base. 4 Dropper Lords ready. Banelings over to the right side. Great Storms to start things off. But here we go. Unloading the Zerglings. Hydras, Lings, and Banes. A 4-pronged attack out of Serral. The drop in, he warps in the Zealots, the Hydras, and Lings. Getting so much done at the front. And he's just going to continue forward. He defended the drop in the main, but the Banelings just dodging the storm so far. Splitting the Banelings, and the Hydra is able to get a lot of damage. So far, 14 probes dead. Serral managing to weather the storms and gets the Dropper Lords out as well. He forced so much army back with the drops, and he's killing the probes too. The 4th Nexus might be taken down by the Hydras. But the Nexus is only 400 minerals. Those probes, much more than that. Serral actually backs off. I feel like every other Zerg player would have tried to target down that Nexus and then back off. And they may have very well lost their Hydras. But Serral comes out of that engagement. Well, he lost more resources. But in terms of the game, definitely ahead. But more Banelings coming through. A storm around the corner melts through so many Lings and Banes that the attack's starting to peter out here. Are there any other fronts? Archon, pin-cushioned. Classic holds this one strongly. And a counterattack of Zealots goes pretty much uncontested for a while. Serral forced to pull away. And suddenly Classic strikes back. Queens will back off. Baneling drop is loaded up. Classic down to 69 probes, which is still a very nice economy. Though obviously, is he looking? Not thinking. The double drop, oh my! That's a lot of damage. 15 more probes exploderated by the Banelings. The acid dropping on the base. And Adrenal Glands is the very first upgrade. Hive Tech, by the way, Hive Tech is already done. During all of this, Serral was not all in. This was just cover. The best offense is a good the best defense is a good offense. And Serral, even better. Up 40 supply. He's got 84 to 69 workers. Classic did rebuild quite quickly. Lurker Den is on the way. Gets a Contaminate delaying the +1 shield upgrade. I think Classic on a bit of a budget now. Shield's cheaper than the +3 weapons. Also, shields apply to all units and buildings, not just, say, ground units or air. It is kind of unique in that. The only upgrade that affects everything for the race. 7 lurkers on the way, but Classic has survived. He finished the fleet beacon, but has yet to build any Tempest, has yet to opt for the mothership, the most expensive unit in the game. Treat yourself, right? Thing is, though, he has yet to spot any lurkers. So, without lurkers, there's not that much. If they don't have lurkers, then Immortals, Archons, Charizards, and Storm are usually enough. If you can get about even army supply, you're probably in a good spot. Carriers are on the way. Classic probably anticipating a little bit less of a late game scenario right now. The carriers, a strong choice to end things, but definitely an awkward one to use when you're boxed in like this. The lurkers are moving forward. Range is already done. Doesn't have the quick burrow yet. More storms. Thins out the lurkers, but the Archon's taking a lot of damage as well. Shields nearly stripped away. +1 shields. Slightly delayed, but now coming in. Serral unable to break the 4th base of Classic. He has some battle groups set up like it's a campaign mission over here, and it might as well be. With the constant onslaught, Serral expanding to pretty much everything else. He's got the gold base down the center as well. A Nidus in the bottom right corner. Zerglings on the left. Are there any Dropper Lords left? Yes. Wow. And a Greater Spire is on the way. Serral filling in the tech tree while keeping the pressure on. The Nidus over to the right side. Some charge lots are sent out. I don't know if he knows where the Nidus is or he just wanted to do this anyways, but you know you can send him through the Nidus, Serral. Bit awkward here. I think this is an escape Nidus, actually. He set this up so his lurkers he was sending out can escape if the air army contests them. Wow, I'm the one. Now I'm the fool. Believe it or not, Serral, slightly better at this game than me. I know, it comes as a shock. But a mothership is on the way. The gold base at the 3 o'clock is now online. Spotted by Classic, but what is he going to do about it? The carriers have arrived. Serral chopping through the rocks and just kind of hitting the gateway behind. No air weapon or no flyer attack upgrades yet for Serral, but he's expanded to most of his half the map, including that gold base. Pops the lurkers into the escape Nidus. I mean, Niduses swing both ways, but it's kind of about how you use it, if you know what I mean. Storms on the lurkers. Thin out the front line. The carriers, more than enough to take them down. Some tempest being added in now that he realizes the commitment to the lurkers. But a couple carriers, and now the big issue with carriers are they are a rich man's unit. Each interceptor costing 15 minerals on top of the carrier itself. You can get nickel and dimed, especially against Serral, who's constantly putting pressure on. Classic has less than 100 minerals. Okay, barely moving above it, but he's not really banking, so those interceptors will cost him over time. Whereas Tempests are a one-time payment. For one easy payment of $250, $175, you can get yourself a Tempest, which does surprisingly little damage against anything that isn't a massive unit. So as long as you keep your mother away, they're going to have a tough time. Now, Corruptors, a couple lurkers protecting the gold. Every mineral and every gas that Serral can mine, and this is a 2-gas base as well. Usually gold bases only have 1 gas, but this is a contested base down the center. They both have an equal amount on either side, but there's only 1 base to fight over in this tug of war. So every little bit Serral's able to mine from it might end up making a huge difference later on as we start to settle into the supreme late game and both sides put together their endgame army. Classic has survived the onslaught. He's lost a similar amount of resources though to Serral, which a unique experience in fighting against Zerg. The Corruptors and Vipers looking for an opportunity, but Classic spots it first. The lurkers, a lot of them getting annihilated by this incredibly high damage army. Tectonic destabilizers. The anti-building damage for the Tempest is on the way. Serral swinging to the left side, but the mothership is here. Activates the cloak. Recalls from the other side of the field onto the mothership. Mass recall in order to deal with it. But another Nidus comes through. Both players. Classic. It might feel passive, but the charge lock counterattack at a key time took some of the pressure off, and he's built the army, and now he's banking money. And now Serral's going to have to deal with this. The death ball just kind of swinging its way around the map. A whole lot of gravity behind it, and a whole lot of momentum. The Templar are the difficulty. Without the storms to back it up, a Congress of Corruptors could easily take down this army. The Vipers could close the distance, but feedback from the Templar again is what keeps them from getting close. And the mothership itself threatening to potentially recall even into the main base, but there's already a spore perimeter here, a sporimeter. Yanks in a Tempest, but the storms knocks a Tempest out of the sky immediately. A double Knight. Technically, they can only spew out units so fast, so a double Nidus kind of makes sense. It's a very Brood War situation. But we're settling in. Serral did not try to break Classic. For better or worse, I'm going to defer to the expert here and say for better, but he didn't try to just end the game outright once he had the mothership and all those Templar. The phase of constantly trying to rip down the outlying bases has passed. I don't think it's ended entirely, but you really don't want to let the Protoss focus on their army. Whatever you can do to make them look away. But now popping into the Nidus. Everybody get out of there. The base is just completely annihilated. The lurkers, but recalls back to deal with it. Having a recall on the mothership, well, to the mothership, and then a recall back to the Nexus. And if you juggle those cooldowns, it makes it very difficult for the Zerg to ever really catch you off guard. Especially on this map, where it's effectively, it's almost, I dare not say it, but I will. I do dare, yes. It's almost like a MOBA, where you have your lanes that you can go down. And, oh, the Predator drones with the army. A taste of war. And that's enough. That's enough of a taste. All right. Seem to be allergic. Meanwhile, the lurkers. Storms chewing through them. All the lurkers chew through everything else. Moving up. I don't know if he has the detection. The army's kind of moving in. The mothership, a mass recall into the main. A huge commitment. It comes through at the last moment. He knocks down the mothership. I don't know. This is a huge commitment out of Classic. I don't know if he has the recall out, but he loses the mothership immediately. The lurkers are moving in. The army, how long on the cooldown? He still has a full minute on the recall out. Now, Serral has a bunch of tech here. He's going to lose the spawning pool, the lurker den, the infestation pit. He's already rebuilding many of these things. But Classic throws the game completely sideways. A massive curveball here. And we'll see if Serral ends up striking out. That's a huge move. The storms are massive. The Spire, thankfully for Serral, is on the low ground. The lurkers are locking Classic into the base. Serral knows there's limited time until this army can recall out. But also, it doesn't necessarily need to. There is like 100 of 120 army supply for Classic committed inside Serral's own base. They're inside the house. Takes out the main, and we'll get the forward base incidentally. The Corruptors. Wow, 26 Corruptors on the field. Well, above the field, if you're going to be pedantic. The Queens. But Brenda, no! Well, what did you expect? The lair was rebuilt, but Serral will have to build a third lair. I don't think he expected Classic to just commit. He still hasn't dealt with it. Like, the Classic doesn't have to go home if he's too busy ransacking yours. And Serral's losing all of his infrastructure. He's retaking the gold. Classic still maintains plenty of money back at home. Serral is scrambling to build 9 Broodlords with what was left of his Greater Spire. He has the Infestors. Does he have Neural Parasite? No! He didn't get Neural Parasite on the Infestors, which is definitely just a mistake, an oversight. There's still a couple of Vipers. It's a long time till he can build any more. Feedbacks across the board. 4 out of 5 Infestors. Wiped out of energy. The Broodlords are here. A single carrier remains. It's time to recall out. And he's gone. And just like that, he disappeared. He even recalled... Oh, I think he recalled to a new mothership. Another ship has arrived. Serral is still maxed out. He has Broodlords and Corruptors and Infestors. And those things have carried... very, very narrowly, but carried Zerg through the late game for the last 15 years. They are the tools of the trade. But I don't know if their trade's good enough you can make, especially considering Serral has to rebuild his entire tech tree pretty much from the stump. What a bold move from Classic, and it worked out for him. He took out the majority of the tech. Now, Serral somehow managed to salvage enough army that Classic can't just all-out attack. Like, he kept most of his Corruptors alive. He has Broodlords. There's a cinematic of Archons down there. A dozen of them. Mostly from the Templar who exhausted their energy in the middle of a fight. But waste not, want not. That is so much gas in that army. Wow, 6,900 army value right now for Classic. Almost on the dot. Till he loses a few Zealots. Very nice army. But Serral, 8,407k. This is the death ball of Zerg. The Vipers, all feedback sniped out. One Viper survives, but the Parasitic Bomb doing some real damage as well. But the Tempest mostly survived. I think an Observer just kind of died to Parasitic Bomb. But Classic, you can't let the army in. Even Serral struggling to deal with the death ball. He's not done yet. He's rebuilding pretty much every hatchery but the main. Like I said, the liability. At this stage of the game, it's just not worth. There's no more minerals in the main. I think it's mined out of gas as well. So there's no point in maybe just to deny Classic using it as a staging area against him. A Neural Parasite is on the way. The cannons are coming online. The cannons per minute. 27 cannons with 7 more in production. That's Serral. The Corruptors holding it together. The Lurkers still trying to reposition. Serral has lost 7,000 more resources. 2,000 more gas. The cannons easily holding against the Zerglings. Even he has +3 shields now. A bit of a traffic jam. Would you? Hello? One at a time. Oh, would you stop yelling in my brain? I mean, the Archon traffic jam. Wow. Finally. All right. If that was a game decider, well, the Archon, and it literally was just the Archons were trying to go at the exact same time. Typical. Tragedy of the Archons. Serral is back up to like 4 mining bases. But the tectonic destate, feedbacks. The exchanges back and forth. The Healing Shrine has an air blocker. It can only be used by ground units. The Tempest Siege continues. A Nidus gets by. Some Zerglings inside. He just goes behind the base. He's gonna need some Lurkers there. Well, right now, Serral, his army rests on the edge of a knife. Stray but a little, and he will be stormed to death and lose everything. Classic still has, like, well, to say it's unwieldy seems like an understatement. The Lurkers managed to drag the army back. Somehow Serral is still mining from the gold. 57 workers apiece. Maxed out. Despite Serral losing, like, his first 3 bases, pretty much. We've reset the game. I cannot... I don't think I've ever seen this. Like, I've seen resets after a base trade, but not like a... Now we're going back to our corner. It wasn't like Classic backed off. It's just Serral has managed to stiff arm him out of his base for long enough to actually reestablish it. He's got his tech back online. He rebuilt the Greater Spire. Some infestors getting popped by feedback. Just so much emotional damage they implode. Sometimes I feel like that looking at the YouTube comments. But the Broodlords raining down on the Templar. Obliterates the base. The speed zone helping him with a quick getaway. Another Templar is taken out. A hatchery is a small snipe in the grand scheme. Wow, these cannons. This is one Archon-wide choke points here. That Classic, if there's any... The big issue against the Broodlords is not so much the Broodlord damage themselves, but the ability to, and this is a technical term, jankify the pathing. To make it, especially against things like Archons, to make it very difficult for them to do anything but be fighting Broodlings the whole time. As the Broodlings become a unit in and of themselves. Archons have essentially shouting distance as range, and they don't have mouths, so that's a very short one. I have no mouth, but I must balance one. Oh. Grabs an Archon. The Archon wanted to find some new friends. Fortunately, it doesn't work out. 6 more gateways for Classic. He's just gonna... Okay. Now, if you didn't look at the minimap, which... Let's not lie here. Were you really? It's okay. It's okay. That's what I'm here for. But if you didn't look at the minimap and wonder why Serral doesn't have a main base, this would look like a normal game. I mean, 30 minutes in, but still. Got a whole chiropractor's office of spines over here. A little sporchard out in front. But Serral is... He has mined 5,000 more minerals and 3,000 more gas. And through all the fire and fury, he's managed to restabilize. And the lurkers are slicing through the backline where the cannons aren't protecting. That is the most dead hatchery a hatchery could ever be. But the escape Niduses helping out. And we're starting to... Not again. Not this again. The last time these two did this, it came down to 1 Broodlord. And Classic barely killed it to win the game. Literally no minerals left, no gas. 1 Broodlord versus like 2 Archons, which is a unit tester arcade battle / one of the most high-profile games in the history of StarCraft 2. So... And we're hurtling towards it. I feel like at this point I need to bring up... Oh my... Well, one, I need to bring up zoning... There are 4 Archon! At this point, I think he just needs to kill some of his own cannons. Alright. Well, here come the queens. Susan! Those things seem a little big. Not compared to you, Brenda. The queen's providing anti-air. The storm's hitting all the corruptors, but he's able to knock out several of the tempests. The probes mining from a base that's building a hatchery. As both players just... Wow. We're going into the bean counter phase, where we start counting how many mineral patches are even left. Yeah, the worker count is less relevant now. You want as much army as possible. They both have enough money to rebuild most of their armies. So you just want enough workers in order to build buildings and to mine from the remaining bases. You don't need that massive... There's no use in having 80 workers anymore. The times of plenty have ended. A single sentry for Guardian Shield. Reducing the range damage of everything by 2, but you cannot teleport Broodlords. Okay, are we doing it again? What? Are we doing this again? Oh my. Here we go again! Round 2! A massive base trade. There's no way Classic can recall on top of this base. Classic takes out the freshest base Serral has. 10 probes go down. And he's gonna go for another one as well, as we continue the rotational slaughter. The wheel turns. Gonna try to make sure he takes out the base. Doesn't want to leave the Broodlords on their own, but Serral takes out one Nexus for the cost of 2 hatcheries, but he pulls most of the probes away. Well, at this point, it's a non-zero chance Serral neural parasites a probe and starts building Tempest of his own. The lurkers are slowly but surely slicing through the cannons. The speed zone doesn't help with attack speed, but it does help with scurrying away at the first sign of trouble. That is the Golden Armada. Somehow Serral has more in the bank, which is the mind boggles. It boggles. That's a word I can't say more than 2 or 3 times before thinking that words are just a human construct, and I am living in a simulation. Like and subscribe for existential dread. The mind boggles. Well, here we go. Well, here we go. Where I just said that, not Mario. Here we go to a similar place that we've been for the last 10 minutes or so. A ye old Marsara standoff. I don't know, like, what is it, Chowsara? Whatever won the Protoss glassed in order to deal with the Zerg. The Tempest. Neural Parasite on a couple. But the other Tempest, oh, he grabs a bunch of them! Tempest, very good counter to Tempest! And I guess you don't need the neural... Microbial Shroud to protect. And Serral holds him down and knocks him out. Neural Parasite, one of the most effective ways to make sure you can actually target down Tempest. I'm still not sure how Serral survived all that and has more money. Like... Classic. So, the map is also working slightly against Classic. This sort of play, the charge lock counter, is a lot less effective here because of how easy it is to defend your bases, even with things like lurkers. He does manage to get another hatchery, but we haven't seen much of this because Serral is able to maneuver quickly enough. Revelation use chops right through the lurker with a whole lot of ease. But the Broodlord's gonna make things more difficult. So, the armies. 12 broods, 33 corruptors, 10 infestors, couple vipers, almost nothing else, 2 lurkers, partridge and a pear tree. Up against 9 Archons, 6 Tempests, 8 carriers, 10 Templar, but the mothership! Oh no! Brought low! Another ship sniped off. Classic starts an additional one immediately. The Serral found it and just sniped it. And the mothership is actually building at this base. Classic kind of scrambling. Recall is 30 seconds out. Classic expanding to the top left corner. But he's gonna lose the next. He just cancels and builds the mothership somewhere else. You can only have one. There can only be one. Oh, okay, calm down. $29 to 24 workers. But Classic, well, he's down on supply, but just because he hasn't decided what to build yet, I think, mostly. My life for ire. Your life for ire. My life for ire. Yeah, all our lives for ire. What's the other line? Glorious battle! Shh, just stop saying it out loud. You have to think it. Oh, yeah, shh, shh, shh. Sorry. Hang on. Did you say wife for hire? Billy! Sorry. The lurkers knocked out of the ground. Well, into the ground? Into the unit's lost tab. Just like the Oracle gets taken down, another legion of changelings. We storm the yes. Energy for energy, I guess, technically. But somehow how? Serral, stop doing this. Serral. He's just built different. Okay? Serral with the patience of an elementary school teacher here. With just willing to let this go on and on. He has the Broods, the Corruptors. He yanks in a carrier. The Broodlings actually managed to snipe off another Templar. There are so many Archons, but the power does not feel nearly as overwhelming as you might think. And meanwhile, the Zerglings are ripping down the defenses. And he still only has +2 melee and +2 carapace, but it's enough. He depowers the pylon. Oh no, Artosis screams into the distance about how Terran is the only true skill. A recall for the lowly Zerglings. And Serral, I think at this point, has decisively turned this entire game around. Classic turned it upside down, but Serral, slowly but surely, piece by piece by piece, has built it back up into an advantage. He's somehow ahead. Serral has lost 2 Corruptors. I'm sorry, wait, what? No. That is obscene. That is disgusting. What? 2 Corruptors and 4 Broodlings. He's killed 12 Tempests, 3 Carriers. He's not playing Zerg. That's not how... Classic, I mean... I don't think Classic's making big mistakes. What could he do more? Maybe not have his cannons walled off his Archons, but... I think... Therefore I am, but I think right now Classic thinks he's ahead. Or at least kind of close. He's been sitting here against anyone else. 138... Was that another ship? No. What was in there? Oh, random Tempest. Against anyone else. Oh, Serral mined the entire gold. He's mined 6,000 more minerals. A base is 10,800. He's mined 2,000 something more gas. A base is 4,500. He's lost almost exactly the same number of resources. The math ain't math in here. The numbers don't lie, and right now they spell disaster for Classic. There's 11 Overseers mixed in. This is the most... I mean, Serral added to the list, but... This is the master class here. Well, grabs the Oracle, feedback across the board. Another storm hits all the Broods, but he loses the Templar. And Serral building up a bank even bigger than his own bank account after these tournaments. The Brood Lords to rule them all. The Lord of the Broods. The Tempest shelling. These Archons just desperate. He has 15 Archons. All the Templar are left over from their storms. Merging them in anticipation of some big battle. But instead, Serral just bit by bit. Just grinding away at the army, pull it out one piece at a time, and at what point does the tower topple? It's like a Jenga game. Weathers the storms, kills another Templar, grabs a Tempest. He just leaves it, which is just insulting, and then finally knocks it down, but he knew he had the kill. Snipes off a Templar. Broodlords are not ghosts. Why are they sniping Templar? I feel like Classic is now reeling. Well, I would like to place the blame somewhere. I finally can now... I set myself up for this 30 minutes ago. And I said carriers are a rich man's unit. Well, guess who isn't rich anymore? It's Classic. Spoilers. Classic now has under 1,000 minerals. He has barely more probes than he started with, which is intentional, but he has like 7 mineral patches left. Yes, we are fully in the bean counter phase. He cannot afford to lose interceptors at this stage. Serral Wow, the army values are obscene. 12,000. The defense budget for both of them. 12,450 minerals of army. 10,500 gas. Against 10.5, 10,000. This is... You can't shove much more army value into the game. These are some of the most supply, and this is the most supply efficient armies, effectively. Roaches, you can max out for a third the cost, but are you going to get nearly as much done? I mean, obviously not. So, in order to... So, a stalemate... Yes, I'm bringing it up. A stalemate happens when nobody destroys a building or mines for several minutes. And then a timer starts. We are still well off that situation. But we are closer to it than the start of the game, I believe, at this stage. So... Serral, setting up. Gonna try to take a full fight, potentially. He just keeps teasing him right on the edge here. But the Corruptors, the Storms, Autumn Colors, grabs an Archon, Broodlords, obliterates some more Broods. Parasitic Bomb, though, down the center. Classic not reacting to it. Wombo combo. Corruptor's gonna knock down all of it. The Broodlords raining down in the red, though. Almost dead. Serral losing so much. The Archons coming out of the Neural Parasite. And the Golden Armada. But 50 Corruptors in production. What? Oh, my. He has 0 drones. There's 50 Corruptors. How many Broodlords are left over? 8 Broodlords. Serral puts everything into this. Somehow Classic with the army that just obliterates everything. He couldn't. The Storms annihilated the front lines. He could not withstand the Neural Parasites. He couldn't take the Archons down in time. They added so much damage. And with an entire Congress of Corruptors here, Serral's gonna try to wipe out the carriers. And the Storms have not been refilled. The Archons must box out. He comes to the left side. He's trying to sweep the army out of the sky. And I think he has enough to do it. More Archons are coming up. He doesn't have any more Storms. And Serral! Oh no, we're doing it. It's happening again. It's Broodlords versus Archons. Classic is down to 50 supply. Serral, literally, with 100, the 300 supply Zerg. I haven't seen such a literal definition in possibly a decade. Serral going to caustic spray down the base. Stalkers will be warped in. If the Broodlords had not lived through the fight, and so many times, he's only lost 11 Broodlords in the entire game. Classic has lost 22 Tempest, 14 Carriers, 28 Archons. And I truly think he hasn't been wasteful. It's just... Serral. How? He prioritizes those fights. The Parasitic Bomb added a lot. The Neural Parasite, but in Classic, won the fight. But he's certainly losing the war. What does he have left? Not enough. 12 Brood... Now, neither player can know exactly how much is in the bank. Even Serral, I don't think, knows exactly how much is left. But here's the thing. Oh, he has the Corruptors. He can snipe off the Observers. The Lurkers themselves might be able to win the day. There's no more... He can't build anything more. There's like 200 minerals left. But the Archon... Well, 30... The army value... Oh, no. It's happening again. By the way, Serral is so... Like... Waste not, one not. He still has the Dropper Lords from earlier. Just chill in here. He's supply blocked now, but he can't build anything. He has no money. He never rebuilt his Evo chambers and got +3 melee attack and carapace, which work for the broodlings from the broodlords. They get melee carapace. The broodlords themselves, the attack is flyer attack and carapace. But it's the broodlings on the ground benefit from melee upgrades. Okay. I can't, like, Serral has 125 army supply, but a full half of that is in corruptors, which do 0 damage to archons. Oh, here we go. He's setting it up. And the fungals come out. The lurkers are the kicker here. The infestor's holding it down. If he sniped off the observer. There's no answer. He's slowing him down, and he'll knock him out. Serral has done it. He beat the Golden Armada. Classic will recall out, but does he recall where his G keys are? Or whatever it is on a Korean keyboard. He's good. At this point, he's trying to base trade. Again. For the 4th or 5th time. But there's no answer to the lurkers. Serral has survived. In the most inspiring and somewhat infuriating demonstration of Zerg near perfection. Well, the Archons are trying, but they're not going to get far enough. That's it. Full energy Templar. GG! Serral destroyed 22 Tempests, 14 carriers, 35 Archons, 3 motherships. He lost 49 Corruptors, only 12 Broodlords. He lost... Actually ended up losing about 1,000 more resources, but almost mined an entire extra base. In fact, the map not quite mined out, but it was getting there. Serral. There's Zerg, and then there's Serral. He spent his entire bank on 50 crore. I believe he canceled a few of them and made some more Broodlords with his existing Corruptors. You could have an entire doctorate program off of that game. Serral has distilled late game Infestor Broodlord, late game Zerg versus Protoss to an exact science. That is a heartbreaker for Classic. It's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not failure. That is Serral. Okay, well, he went for the big base trade, lost the mothership right off the... But he did, like... There was a lot of just little pickoffs across the map. Getting a Templar here, an Archon there, a Tempest there. And it adds up. So slowly. The crisis management from Serral. I'm not even going to call it crisis management. I'm going to call it chaos management, which is my favorite genre of game, by the way. I love all chaos management games. All RTS games are, by definition, chaos management. There's a difference between crisis and chaos. The difference is a crisis, it usually happens when something goes wrong. Chaos just is. So, like, it's going to happen one way or another. Just trying to manage it, to navigate it. And Serral managed to keep, somehow prioritized exactly the parts of the army he needed at all times. It's not about deciding which of their army dies, it's about which of your army lives, which is exceedingly hard to do with Zerg. You are like, the Zerg is not known for babysitting 3 or 4 units. Are the cinematics like 3 Broodlords kiting back at What if the Legacy of the Void cinematic was a Infestor neural parasiting an Archon and using it to hit another Archon? okay? That wouldn't be nearly as dramatic as legions of Zerg swarming down a hill into whatever plot device ever happened with the Archon kind of yeeting the Ultralisk out of existence. I still don't know what happened there. I don't think that's even in the campaign, so... And honestly, it felt a little anticlimactic. I wanted, in the cinematic, I wanted the Archon to, like, have, like, a laser hand attack that just infused the Ultralisk and exploded in a massive energy ball. I mean, the teleport thingy was cool, too, but it goes along with the whole Protoss sacrificing themselves for questionable reasons genre. But I feel like I've gotten off track here from whatever I was trying to say, which I'm sure was profound and meaningful. But not nearly as profound and meaningful as what just happened. Okay, so... this explains a lot. Yeah. So, this match happened... This is a pre-match before the World Finals, where Classic fought his way back to it. And this explains why Classic didn't try the super late game options. Yeah. That was... I feel like I need to just cast that game again, knowing how it goes and how it ends, and looking much harder at exactly what Serral's doing. I'm sure Serral will be like, well, you're just pretty standard business. You just keep the good units alive and get rid of their good units, and then eventually you have a better army. Then you simply make 50 corruptors and yada yada yada, win the game. Duh. So it's pretty standard business. The Zergling counter, but Classic adapted. The Oracle... Why are the Oracles not coming back? Come back. He warped in at the 3rd. But there should be a probe in time. Oh, that's not a wall. No, Classic. The Oracles... Oh, I mean, can you blame him? After a game like that, I don't know if they took a break or something. I would. I'd be like, can I get a week? Real quick. I can't get over how Serral, before the World Cup, he canceled the RSL. He did not play in a single tournament for 2 months. I don't know what he was doing on the ladder or practicing, but I truly believe that he literally, like, went into lockdown to figure out how to beat Classic. Because Classic beat him at DreamHack Dallas with that late game style. It was close, but Classic had the edge. And this is Serral. This was the next series between the two. Serral... Oh no, the Zerglings got in. Not that it matters much, but now he doesn't have to scout later. He avoids needing to send in an overseer to confirm what he already likely knew, but needed to make sure of. I truly believe Serral went into, like, boot camp lockdown in a way he wasn't able to last year because he had his own military service, which he was allowed to practice, but I doubt it was the same level and as comprehensive as this year, so. Hydra is dead, infestation bit on the way. The Shady Bun shut down for now. I don't know, maybe this game is going to be just as epic. It already feels like Classic is fractured, like shaken, shooketh. Not, and also potentially stirred. A hive at 6.5 minutes. Where's the lurker den? There it is. Storm is done. Adept will be ripped apart at the watchtower. Hydralis in production. Hydra speed nearly done. Classic with no... Well, it's another sit back and build up 4 bases. Problem is Serral has already peaked here. And this map is even harder to hold against the onslaught. The cannons are coming online. The fleet beacon hasn't even started yet. And Serral is done with his hive. He's going to have lurker range, well, assuming he starts it, but he should have lurker range ready before a fleet beacon is done. Oh yeah, there's a set of rocks there. Don't drop it. Where you going, Archon? I want to stay outside. Okay. That'll show him. The Archon wanted to get the kill. It doesn't choke off the whole base, just makes it a little bit tougher. Alright, now classic fleet beacon is on the way. Will be spotted immediately by the Overseer, as well as the second Stargate. Adept's counterattack. Guess the Stalker taken down as well, but... So Serral, he's maxed out. He's got 91 drones. Classic at 89 probes. Another almost no rush 10 minute. Yeah, we went back and forth, but effectively no rush 10 minutes. No real commitment. Fleet beacon is done. Nidus to the left. Army to the right. The bases in the center are only minerals, by the way. So, if it comes to that, but... No gas geysers. The Nidus. And we've arrived! We had a surprisingly small part last game, didn't we, Brenda? Lucille, get back in the Nidus worm and shut the door. Or sweet Kerrigan, so help me... Sorry, I got her. The Queen lurker push. Meanwhile, Serral hits the right side. Just pre-cancels the base, not even bothering. There's a cannon in the main to help zone out the Nidus. The Queen supporting it. Classic looking to collapse on this army. But, the Queens are keeping it intact for long enough. And Classic actually... Oh, no, here we go again. A base trade. A much earlier one. The Archons, an escape Nidus for the drones as well. The Storm's on his own army trying to get out of there. The Zerglings will get the wraparound. No adrenal glands this time around. The drones escape into the Nidus and most of them will be saved. Meanwhile, the Queens will bring down the temp. Get off my creep! Well, the creep isn't here, Brenda. That's a technicality and you know it. Charge lots up to the right side. Here we go again. 0 to 100 in just a few seconds. And we might go 200 to 100 in supply if this keeps up. Serral taking some damage back at home, but he knocked out the base. He's actually potentially driving back the Tempest with just Queens, which is not supposed to be the counter to Tempest, but they've had an angry go of it. The Lurkers are still just slicing their way forward. The Queen's keeping them going. The Nidus on both sides. Another Nidus on the right side as he switches over. And in the main base as well, I believe a cannon will take it down barely in time. But on the creep, transfuses to weather the storms. Queen's just chewing on the pylon. And Serral down the center. Gonna try to intercept. There's only a few Tempests overhead. Revelation on the army. Storms are good. But he just gets into the main base. The Lurkers are slicing away at the edges. Serral is... He's picking them apart. Cloven in twain. The Queens might be able to knock down the Oracles as well. Classic still has a lot of supply. Serral is just now getting his Spire of the Queens, wandering up the creep. Pops back into the Nidus. He's back on the left side. The Lurkers, there's no... He just gives up on the Nexus. He's hard supply blocked, and the pylons are getting taken down, exacerbating the problem. Classic. Crumbling under the weight of the pressure. Sending out a War Prism. Unfortunately, it will fly directly over the Hydralisks. And here comes Serral with a direct attack down the center. Back and forth we go. Where does it stop? Whenever Classic wants it to. Oh my. The mothership will help hold the line. There's enough Tempest down that the Lurkers can't really engage, but there's 16 Corruptors on the way. That's a GG of Corruptors right there. There's not going to be enough Templar with enough energy underneath to stop them. There's not enough economy to back it up. He's long distance. He managed to keep most of his probes alive, but Serral has his entire side of the map and counting. The floor is Lurkers. 17 Lurkers, 16 Corruptors. Just +2 ground weapons and +1 air attack for Classic. Serral is spreading creep into the base, which is widely considered to be a dick move in most cultures. An Adept somehow survived the Great Culling. The Tempest. This is still an art. Well, he has the Corruptors now. The Escape Nidus. Serral's been so good about that as well. Oh, wow. We're gonna base trade one more time. One more time. That is still a scary death ball. In fact, Classic has similar army supply. I think 2 Storms apiece, a single Immortal at the back, a single Lurker. There's almost no economy left, but do or die. The Lurker will eviscerate the dregs of the economy. That Spore Crawler. An escape Serral with the escape Niduses. So cinematic. Classic is trying to come back, but no, there's not going to be anything to come back to. The Corruptor's Time Warp zones out. Another Lurker obliterated. He's got Greater Spire, 5 Infestors, Neural Parasite, Flyer Attack, Adrenal Glands, Burrow, and a new car. Well, I mean, Serral was able to turn around an absolutely dire situation. It's now Classic's opportunity to do the same. He is almost out of economy. His army is still very strong, but Serral is slowly but very surely whittling it down. Serral has the mining base on that left side. The Queen's back at home. Classic did manage to take the 3 o'clock, which is very important to have any sort of expansion location. But there's creep spreading into his base from the Nidus on the left side. A couple charge lots will try to work their way through, but it's not going to happen. The Lurkers holding the line. A few more spines put together. Yet another Nidus screaming into existence like most of us. How many worms are out there? Only one. Wait, what? How many have been thrown out? 10 Nidus worms. Serral really making great use of them. But again, Classic. He's balling. The ball of death. The Brood Lords are on the way. Deja vu. We've just been in this place before. Lurkers will get obliterated. Serral does have a lot of money in the bank. Classic is not... Ooh. Near full energy infestor taken out. But Classic refuses. Never give up. Never surrender! The creed of the latter player. And if you do, don't GG. Well, there's the feedback. Do we got the wombo combo? No parasitic bomb. Yanks in one tempest. The lurkers are working on that right side base. Tempest and just that huge swell of archons. Gonna try to take them down. Another set of fungals. But the lurkers should be taken out. Only one remains. The storm zoning things out. Okay, wait a second. A single lurker again. Serral backstabbing just when it looks like Classic is making some progress. He makes sure that it's going to be very difficult to go back and rebuild. But there's a few Broodlords and a bunch of Corruptors, but the Queens, the last line of defense. You know it! And a hold! No, we're not doing Braveheart again! Oh, Braveheart of the Swarm, Susan. Sorry. The Zealots in Classic is making a mountain out of a molehill here. As this army's still very, very hard to deal with. Okay, wait a second. Classic pulling a Serral right now. The Storms to zone out. The Templar. The Broodlords raining down. The Corruptors coming in. The Storms, though. There's not the... Okay, never mind. Serral collapses on the army. He tries to recall out. He'll lose the mothership. But Classic making an absolute game of it. But not enough. Serral pulled to the brink yet again. But he pulls it back. That army is never to be underestimated. There is almost no Zerg army that it can't beat if the Zerg is not careful. The sheer amount of splash damage, a tsunami rolling across onto your shores. And, well, Serral almost getting caught. Of course, he had the Corruptors, he had the Broodlords, he had the priority. But he was down to, like, one mining base. And if he didn't win that fight at the end, he did, but he didn't. If he didn't... Okay, the hypotheticals are too dramatic, but... Classic has a real shot of just grinding through it there. A 2-0 for Serral. What a grand master class, and then some. From both sides, really. Again, against literally any other zone. There's a reason it keeps being Classic versus Serral, but against literally anyone else. Classic defeating Clem, defeating Solar, showing his prowess, and defeating several Protoss as well, I forget, but I don't know if he faced off against Raynor. I do think Raynor's style might be enough to rip him apart before he actually gets to the death ball, but yeah, I'm not so confident in that. Well, Serral with a decisive 2-0. Classic looking dangerous to the very end. Both games, but we ended the Infestor Broodlord one way or another. All roads lead there, despite the fact the Infestor has been nerfed half a dozen times over and changed in many ways. It still remains the best option to deal with the late game sieges. There's no other unit, well, one, Neural Parasite, taking advantage of any isolated units, and then Fungal, the only way to really hold units down. So the combination of more spellcasters than a Hogwarts montage and just the patience to repeatedly lose much of your army and your bases in order to find the right fight. It feels so bad to lose like 1 or 2 hatcheries. Like, you just want to zone it out when you can, but just waiting for the moment it steps too far forward. Or rolls, I guess, in deathball fashion. Gonna be the Stargate yet again. I would be shocked if it wasn't, though. The Stargate just too important to get early on. Way too risky not to, with very little benefit. Getting, say, like, Glaive to Depth slightly earlier would not... Almost never has more value than having an Oracle. So... Adept shading in, just looking around, trying to get a beat on the drone count, make sure no Zerglings are popping out. If he really wanted to hide it, Serral probably could, but there's nothing to hide right now. A very far back Wallen. Kind of stuck out there, but interesting. Classic leaving the Oracle back at home as he takes his third. Oh, for a moment. No, yeah, it's just a patrol path. Interesting. Serral's traumatized him now with the early Zergling counterattacks. Oracle's moving out. 2 of them able to lance right through the drones very quickly. I think he's waiting for Serral to do the counterattack to try to block it out. And Serral is not building a bunch of Zerglings. He's not going to sacrifice them to try to delay the third. So, he's playing the series now. Because he's done it twice, Classic is not going to be able to get as much done because already the Knitting Crew is here to drive them back. The fact he built Zerglings in the last 2 games has helped protect him in this one. Well, the typical, Oracle gets away. Always painful there, but another one attempting it. Gonna try the secondary stasis. And perfect, oh my, wow! Serral dodged it with... What a save! I don't think I've ever... Get off my creep! This is restricted lair space, you son of a... Firstborn... Whoa, Brenda, watch out! The shady... That's just a bunch of adepts. He doesn't have glaives, right? No, it's just a bunch of adepts. Ye old mass adept, the evolution chamber wall. Huh. He just... Classic going with the most classic Protoss tactic, which is... What if I build a bunch of adepts? Maybe that'll work. And... You know what? Sometimes it just does. This time... One of the queens is assassinated and... He recalls out, so... It's not even glaives. Not that glaives is required to get a lot of damage done, but... Huh. He just built a bunch of adepts. Definitely feeling like, I gotta try something. Serral ends up building a few roaches. I think realizing now that indeed it was just ye old bunch of adepts play. Not even glaives, so adding on the Hydra Den, the Baneling Nest. The roaches are pretty much explicitly for dealing with things like charge slots or glaive adepts. They don't scale nearly as well as Hydra's, Lings, and Banes. They eat into your timings for everything else. They're the stopgap defense, really. So, not surprising that the moment he backed off and it was clear this isn't all in, the roach production stopped. Still have to be careful. That's still a lot of adepts, as we've already previously mentioned. Overseer gonna spot the Templar archives. Additional production, so knows exactly what he's dealing with now. A relatively standard follow-up of Templar, Blink Stalkers, and an attempt at a 4th base, though a bit later here for... Well, I mentioned the bunch of deaths, so... knocking on the door, trying to bait out a storm on the front porch, but the gaggle of Adept shading across again. Infestation pit on the way, but Serral is hive somewhat delayed. Well, so ends the story of random bunch of Adepts. One will survive. Go tell your friends what happened here. Like, mentally. I know you guys don't have mouths. Thanks for adding that. All the fixins on the way for Sue. Hive. Speed, speed, speed. For everything important. Banelings, roaches, and hydras. Zergling counter though. Oracle comes in to save the day. And Classic is putting it all on the line. He needs to get it done. Well, ideally, get the damage done here. And take back some sort of control of this series. The Banelings are rolling in. Plenty of Storm, but Serral's already pre-spread. Oh, it's a beautiful split. I can't believe it's not butter. Saves the Templar with the Prism. But can he save the rest of the Stalkers that the Zerglings already have the surround? Uses the Templar to zone out. I mean, he's making the most out of this situation. Sniping off the Ravagers. Blinks to the side. Ends up using the Banelings, and 2 Stalkers, badly bruised, will survive the recall. Honestly, Classic he saved the Templar, he saved the Prism, but it was ill-fated from the start. Serral already had so much on the ground. Classic was fighting against the tide, and the storm couldn't turn it. Another wave coming in. This is Roachling. Did Serral get a hive? Yep. Of course it's done, somehow. The hive just done. Just gets a hive. It's like a free perk. It feels like. The Baneling's coming in. He swings over to the right side with the Stalker. Serral doesn't bother. He's backing off, and he's working on the Lurker Den. So, not getting the Lurker Den alongside the hive means it's somewhat delayed. And Classic has 80 probes. He's got a 4th base online. I'm surprised he doesn't have a fleet beacon yet, as he tries for a 5th one. Is that a storm drop? He has... No, it's just star plots in there, but keeping him busy. 2nd Stargates. Classic. There it is. Fleet beacon is on the way. And Classic has ground out a lot of space for himself. The supply certainly doesn't look amazing, but I guess it could be worse. 2 more Stargates. He has plenty of Templar with a lot of energy, and Serral was pretty severely delayed on his Lurkers, and Lurkers with range. In fact, the Tempest should be available by the time the Lurkers really close in. So, Classic, even though it was kind of a rough situation, has managed to salvage something significantly better. The creep is pretty far out there, though Serral doesn't put a huge focus on it besides connecting his bases. Spire is on the way, anticipating exactly this with the Lurkers. Some Dropper Lords were built. I'm not sure. Oh, here we are. Serral setting up for the massive drop. And here we go again. Serral gonna try the multi-prong pressure. There's almost nothing in the natural. No cannons, a single shield battery, no detection. Well, 1 observer. That's not gonna be enough. He can't recall back. Serral dropping in, going down the center and going to attack the 4th base. A 2-pronged attack that Classic must defend perfectly in order to maintain his momentum. The drop not as dramatic as I originally thought it might be, but the army is all coming back to deal with this. Serral can just try to catch anything in between. He's just trying to figure out where the least defenses are. All the cannons are at the 4th, and he just hits the 3rd. The storms are apocalyptic, though. Huge kills on the Zerglings. But the Templar eating the Lurkers. The Lurker spines ripping through. Serral making some progress, but honestly, not that much in the grand scheme of things. Wow. Well, Classic holding on to. He's got the Tempest out now. A Greater Spire's on the way. Lurkers in production. Chrono boosting out probes. Interesting choice. The Dropper Lords will escape into the corner. The Lurkers looking for an opportunity. Gonna start chewing their way through the cannons. The Zerglings through the Zealots. Another wave of storm. The Tempest shelling now. Lurkers headed the other direction. Serral now needs to buy some time. He actually is a bit overcommitted onto Lurkers. 16 Lurkers. He has 99 drones. 99. But... the drone count dipping before I can come up with something clever about that. Doesn't like to keep it 100, unlike his army supply. Oh, so close. Taking most of the bases on his side of things. That's actually too many drones. He can't have enough army with that many drones. Maybe do some oversupply trick, but needs to cut down on the count, adding some spores and spines in. Couple lurkers at the natural. Gonna head more lurkers to the main, and lurkers at the 5th base as well. There's more bases with lurkers than without. And oh no. Here we go again. Classic just says, you know what? Forward. Once more into the breach. As Serral is gutting the main base economy. He's actually losing more drones than Classic is losing probes for now, but the lurkers are denying mining. They took out the natural. The main base is falling. The Templar Archives is being ripped apart. Serral lost an extraneous base. Honestly, Serral hasn't lost enough supply yet to build corruptors. He has 7 corruptors. He needs to lose more units. But he's actually just suffering from success. He's getting too much done. Like... Classic is bleeding out. He's now getting dismantled from the inside. The Zerglings, he lost the Templar Archives and the Twilight Council before he rebuilt it. I feel like Serral just outclassing him now. The base to the north will fall as well. He finally cleans up most in the main. Has to storm the Zerglings out of the ground. And Serral, what does he have left? I mean, what does Classic have left? He's got one more big attack. Serral eviscerating the defenses. The cannon count has dwindled to 3. He's ripped apart 16 cannons. He maintains most of the bases on his side of the map. The Tempests are depowered in production. A Templar Archives is finally being rebuilt. Classic has money in the bank, but he's supply blocked at 136 over 102. He doesn't have enough pylons. The powerhouse, the Protoss. Serral streaming in with the Zerglings. It never ends. The Zerg are numberless. Or at least too high to matter. The Cyber Core. All the probes. He repowers. I mean... You can't just leave the game when you have this sort of army. But this is quite a death animation. Despite how close the first game and much of the second ended up being, I feel like Classic, but a shadow, a shade, a fraction of what he once was. Not as a player, we're being too dramatic, but just each game Serral adapted even more quickly, more efficiently, the Serral machine continues and will consume us all. Does he have a Greater Spire? Of course. Does he have Corruptors? Yes. Infestors? Also yes. Neural Parasite? In production. The Lurkers? Gutting the North. Classic is 3 pylon walling his main to try to keep some semblance of infrastructure intact, but he doesn't have a forge to build cannons, and he doesn't have a cyber core for shield batteries. The Zerglings will just get through it. At what point is it... Okay, Serral is gonna force the issue. 100 supply gap. Okay, Yanks and a Tempest, the Lurkers underneath. Oh, the Templar are wiped from the field, and Classic is wiped from the series. Serral with a 3-0 sweep. Classic fighting so hard for so long, but in the end, it didn't even matter. One of the most unfair 3-0s. In that, I mean, I feel like Classic deserved a game or two just for the first one. But that's not how it works. Especially when you're facing against Serral. He's clearly practiced and perfected that anti-deathball style, much to the dismay of every other Zerg in the entire world, but just play like Serral. Wow. Yeah, I see why this was recommended. I don't think I've seen a better execution in every sense of the word. I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. Thank you for watching. If you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership, but I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our mule patrons, bringing in the extra minerals, Big J, Devin Door, Kate, Mario Suit, and I hope I made your day just a little bit better. Thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay tuned. He's gonna ruin it for the rest of us!